Okay, we are live. We'll just wait a couple of seconds while people join us. But while they do that, just for anyone who's watching back on record, we put this up on our website and our YouTube channel and everything else, where you can see the rest of our live streams as well. And we keep this page up to date with the different videos that we are doing. It's part of our new series of just having more informal conversations with our funders and other charities as well that we work very closely with. I'm Jake Morrison. I'm the Chief Executive of Citizens Advice Wokingham, and I've been in Wokingham now for about 19 months, I think it is. But certainly during the coronavirus pandemic feels like a lifetime. 12 weeks certainly feels like a lifetime, doesn't it? So, and I'll let our guest introduce himself if that's okay.
I'm Tony Lack. I am recently appointed Mayor of Wokingham Town. So that's the town council that's based in the lovely building in the middle of the marketplace.
Brilliant. So it's not just your own chain that you've decided to put on today?
No, that's the formal mayoral one with lots and lots of history. It comes in a box that says Wokingham Corporation. You know, it's that old. But my wife's chain, the Mayoress, hers is more valuable. It's solid gold, whereas this one isn't.
Is that true? It's more valuable?
It's physically more valuable, but this one's got the tradition, so it's actually it's more priceless, I suppose, rather than valueless. I don't know, whatever the word is. Yeah.
It's good status for both of you, though. I would assume so. That's a good.
Yes. Yeah. We have
so
very carefully.
Yeah, absolutely. Do they have engraved? Are they engraved? The little.
Every one of these badges has got a past mayor in it, and I believe that when it's full, Nikki Paler, who's the mayor's secretary, has them all shuffled up, and then I think the ones that fall off the back are kept in even more secure location. You know.
No, that's interesting. That's really good.
Treasure. Yeah.
And quite an honor. It's obviously a legacy as well, I suppose. Then, if you want to call it that, but yeah, it's brilliant.
As well, yeah.
Is it heavy?
That bit is, yes. Yeah.
I love it. No, it's well. So Wokingham Town have been a huge supporter of Citizens Advice, Wokingham particularly, obviously, since forever. And there's a reason for that, isn't there? So Wokingham Town helped to set up Citizens Advice. Is that your understanding as well, Tony?
Yes, yeah, way back. The likes of the Luff, the builders, the solicitors, Clifford Ingram solicitors, and the town council. Different years, different times. I don't quite know the detailed history, but they got together and produced a Citizens Advice Bureau. I don't think it was even called Citizens Advice Bureau then, and obviously it's called that now. But they did it, and a location was found in the town hall itself for where the Citizens Advice has been. So we have been linked with Citizens Advice in Wokingham from your day one.
It's 1977.
Yeah.
Which is 43 years.
Yeah, and we've continued to support and provide you with some funding each year. And it's wonderful to see. You know, I pop down to Citizens Advice from time to time. I've seen what goes on. I've met some of your clients, and they're completely open with what you do and the successes they've had. It's really, really good. It's an amazing system. Yeah.
Which is great, and we certainly appreciate hearing that. And I think that's again, that's partly the point of wanting to have you on today. So we have obviously the 17 town and parish councils across the borough, as well as the borough council that support us. But for us, and again, I know you'll know this far more than me, but every parish and town has its own identity. So it's really important that we reach out to as many of those communities as we possibly can. But obviously, more often than not, we are associated with Wokingham Town because that's where our head office is based in terms of the borough. And I said for me, last year, it was the 80th anniversary of Citizens Advice service as a charity nationally. So we decided to do a bit of research into our local history, and that's when we'd seen it was Wokingham Town that was instrumental, absolutely, in helping us set up. And then the link, as you say, with Clifton Ingram was they were our first chair. They led the board of trustees then, or would have been management committee at that time, and they helped to identify the 10 volunteers and interview them who helped to lead the charity over those first couple of years. And we're one of the later Citizens Advice to set up as well, which is also why I think it's quite remarkable it was something that was on the agenda a lot to get set up, and then that was achieved, which is great. Let's talk a little bit about your role, because obviously just before we came on, I was open that I've got an interest in politics. Obviously, this is a very apolitical role, but then so is yours. So that's obviously the interesting point is, obviously you are a politician because you're elected to then be a councillor, but then you're the mayor, and that's something that's very different from being a town councillor. But to then do that during the coronavirus pandemic must just be very strange, to put it slightly.
Yeah. So I started off as a councillor only a few years ago. I've only been a councillor for 4 and a bit years. So sort of minimum term one needs to be to be put forward to be mayor. But I was originally recruited by someone. Come along, we need a councillor. Come and do it. And I said, well, oh, yes, okay, whatever. And then it flew from there. And then I got really keen on amenities and all that sort of stuff. You know, the allotments and hanging baskets. You know, all the nice stuff that town councils do. And yeah, eventually it came through to me to be elected mayor. We've got a very, very different council now. It's a lovely council. It's Liberal Democrat, Conservative, Labour, Independents. You know, it's a complete, almost even spread of councillors. So we get a wonderful discussion, very, very different points of view. So it's really quite healthy. Although I am a Conservative, because that's the party I joined, I'm never that keen on any spread of it. So being elected mayor, which is apolitical, really suits me. You know, I love that bit. But and my role is to represent them. So the council make the decisions. If they can't make a decision, then I get a casting vote, of course, because my prime role is a chairman. But yeah, I can then present their views, which is a very healthy way of doing it. And being pretty apolitical myself, that's just works fine. But yeah, this. So I got sworn in this very room at home, wearing similar clothes but without the chain, obviously. And I'd like to say I've been working as mayor ever since. But really, Claire, my wife, the mayoress, we've not done very much until yesterday and the day before, where as the shops are beginning to open, we decided to not visit the shops, but to step one step back. So we visited our allotments, went out and meet people doing that. And we're going to go and visit the market next week and visit the shops when things quieten down a bit, I guess, when the first rushes are over. My theme for the year is thank you, because it's that kind of society we're in at the moment. So to say thank you to the market traders for trading, to say thank you for the shopkeepers for doing what they could when they were working, and to say thank you for the other shopkeepers for surviving. If that's the right thing to do, I don't quite know, but I think you get the gist of what we want to do. And then, of course, there are people like yourselves and the charities, the other side of your front door, who need an awful lot of thank you. The Hub, the Early Doors, you know, all that sort of thing, the Wokingham United charities, all those people we want to really say thank you to. And as I explained before, I represent the town, so I'm thanking those people, those organisations on behalf of the town.
Which is brilliant, and certainly much appreciated from our perspective, and I'm sure absolutely everyone else's as well. It's been a really difficult time, and again, that's the next thing I want to talk about, really, because it has been now 12 weeks yesterday that the lockdown came into play, and it's 13 weeks since the Wokingham Borough Community Response came into play, and that is led by Wokingham Borough Council, but there are representatives from the parish and towns, which is the town clerk of Wokingham Town, and we have Churches Together, and we have the Community Hub, as you say, the Volunteer Centre, United Charities, all these other charities that are playing a key role in ensuring that people are supported. And in last week's Wokingham paper, we were on the front page to say that we've helped as many people in the last 12 weeks as we did in the whole of last year. You know, so it's been a huge effort, and obviously that's been all together because, as you say, we are then the entry point, but most of those clients do then go out somewhere else to get the support that they need. What's your comments then on, because obviously I know you've obviously said thank you, but what are your perspectives, your understanding of the response? What do you think of the response? What do you think of Wokingham as a town and a borough and how it has performed during the lockdown and the pandemic?
It's embarrassing for me to feel proud, because I've done very, very little. I'm not one of the younger ones who can get out there and physically do stuff to help, deliver food or collect medicines and so on. But what you guys did, first of all, you, Jake, just to set up, we'll do that. Okay. You became the front door to feed into, the food provision, the prescription provision, the social contact, and so on. All of those things that you guys put. From what I understand, you're one of 2 citizens' advices doing it in the country. So, okay, you had the technology. I guess when somebody rings the 0300 number, you can get it through to the next mobile phone and so on. So you had the opportunity and you took it. So this is me jumping in on your interview. Thank you so much for what you've done to put that together and to take some of the load off the community. And then what came from that was all of the neighbourhood support groups. Swallowfield, Twyford, Woodley, Early, Wokingham. Not Wokingham Town, because the hub was in Wokingham Town, but all of those groups came together and did some amazing. So I'm going to ask you a question now. Tell me a story.
You didn't tell me this.
Here we go. Tell me a story about the bed. You had a gentleman, didn't you?
Yeah, so the bed's a really good example of that, where, because I think that the key point that you have just said there, that I just want to touch upon, is to free other people up, right? So what we could all see, every single one of us, charity or not, was that this was going to get worse. It rapidly started to change in March, and things were changing, and the daily press conferences started, and we knew that something was going to go on. And as we were looking for our role, and obviously we've always provided advice on benefits and debt, etc. We knew that we had the infrastructure, as you've just said. We have the phone systems, but we also had, and again, it was what the story in the paper was about, a brilliant team of staff and volunteers, which hopefully we'll come on to talk about in a minute, that you met last year, and you've met a number of times as well, who were willing to do this. They were willing to close the office and work from home immediately, so that there was no pause in service, and roll their sleeves up and support people. And one of those brilliant examples, as well as every case that we've dealt with, of the range of partners we've had to work with, was the bed. So it was a family who I think have featured in the Wokingham paper as well, because they were happy to talk about the story, had called us about a food parcel. They needed some food from the hub, and the hub had delivered that. But through the conversation, it was identified that unfortunately one of the 2 individuals living there has a terminal illness, and was on a bed that just wasn't really suitable. Now, obviously, that was just a comment that was mentioned, but actually we knew that United Charities were out there who can provide some emergency funding. So we helped the family to do an emergency grant. That was then approved by Wokingham United Charities to be delivered. But then we were absolutely in the middle of lockdown. Now we're out and about and we can do things a bit more, but we were in the middle of lockdown, and that's where the community groups came into play. And if I remember correctly, and it might not be, but I'm sure it was Woodley. It was in the Woodley area. And that was the group that then went out and fitted the bed and helped to get rid of the other stuff. Right in a time where there was a lot of pressure around staying at home and only doing the emergency stuff. And then again, we're able to sort of roll the sleeves up and do something that makes a huge difference to that family. You can, obviously, unless you've been through that situation, surely never understand the absolute difficulty of being in that situation in a time, again, when the whole country comes to a standstill. And to have the community be able to step up and help support you is just absolutely amazing.
Having you as the front door to find out the issues, to have Wokingham United Charities to be able to fund the solution to the issues, and then to have the neighbourhood group to build the bed and deliver it and everything else. Amazing.
Absolutely. And again, because obviously that's then to say 3 key people, but I absolutely do say the parish and towns, the borough, they have all not just helped coordinate, but open those doors, bring people together, use their expertise in planning a crisis of this level and the community response. And I know that in those early days, again, early days is only 12 weeks ago, but people were saying how quick Wokingham as a borough was to respond to get everything mobilised and be set up. And we were at least 1 or 2 weeks ahead of other councils, not just in Berkshire, but across the country. And that's not just a competition of, I say just a competition, it isn't a competition of being the first and the best, but that made a huge difference in those first 2 weeks as the lockdown was announced.
It is quite good to set a great example, because others follow. If nobody bothered to be first, then no one will be first and no one will get anything done. So don't belittle it. Being first is quite keen.
Definitely.
So thank you.
I agree. But yeah, so that's certainly, that's certainly great. But what I did want to, so we met, I don't even know how many months ago now it was, but I know it was September, and it was for the royal visit. And the reason you were there was you were representing the Mayor of Wokingham Town, who was unable to attend that event. So I think it was at another event. And we had to keep it all quiet. So I think it was sort of, if we'd have got in their way beforehand. And just a quick, I don't know if your town clerk, Jan, did tell you this, but we were desperate to have Wokingham Town Hall because of the history of setting us up. We wanted to have our reception in the town hall, but you had a wedding, and Jan wasn't confident enough to phone the bride and groom and tell them not to be having a wedding at the town hall on the day we wanted a royal visit.
I'm very proud of Jan for doing that. Sadly, your celebration and a wedding, I feel the wedding takes priority. I can
absolutely, which is great. But again, I did think, well, if we could have had a little room next to it, Princess Anne could have been a guest at their wedding, which I'm sure they would have appreciated. But yeah, so that's when we met, and I just wondered if you wanted to talk a little bit about that day. And anyone who knows me knows I'll always throw Princess Anne's visit into a conversation anyway. But given that you were one of the first people, even before me actually, to meet with the royal visitor, then just wondered what your thoughts were on that day.
It was a wonderful day. It started with the standing outside in the line, standing where we were told to stand, this mayor, then that mayor, John Wedward, Theresa May, in the correct lineup in the right order. And then I think she's coming. I think she's coming. She's here now. And suddenly it all started. But to me, it was wonderful to see her. We all went upstairs, and then we walked around the room talking to some of your advisors and some of their clients, and the story straight away there. I think this is the thing about the sort of royal visits, isn't it? It concentrates the mind. To speak to 1 or 2 people who'd got debt issues, to speak to another couple of people who've got medical issues, to speak to the advisors on how they do it and how the system is there to help them. I'd already spoken on previous issues about how the sort of the front door kind of concept works, that somebody receives it and carefully hands them on to somebody who can deal with it in experience with that way. And then we had the opening of a plaque, if you like, curtain opening by the Princess Royal, and the way she chatted to everybody, she knew the place. She recalled driving through Wokingham Town with a horse box when she lived in Sandhurst, that sort of stuff. And she knew her stuff about citizens' advice. That was the key thing. It's not just a charity that she's figurehead of. She knows it and she understands it and she understands its worth. So there she was saying great things. And she recognized the fact that it wasn't a state building anymore. It wasn't magnolia and varnish, halfway up and all that sort of stuff. It began to look friendly, welcoming. So
it did make me laugh because I've been in sit-ins advice. I've worked at 4 sit-ins advice services across the country now, and she was telling me things about sit-ins advice that I haven't heard for a long time since the first day that I worked there. She knew the systems that we used. She knew some of the scripts and the way we engage with people and what we're trying to achieve. And again, I just absolutely know that the team absolutely loved it because, as you say, it focused minds. It brought attention to their work, which it's difficult because obviously there are, I think we're told, over 1,000 charities in Wokingham who all do a brilliant job, but that's what we tried to achieve through the reception, which we then followed over, because we obviously then had the reception at Shoot End, and we had a number of charities that we engaged with on a almost daily basis. We're able to meet with the Princess Royal as well, and then we had a couple of speeches and stuff, and it was a really nice day to just genuinely take a step back and look at everything that's been achieved and done, because it's really easy, isn't it, to just keep doing it, keep rolling on, and that's obviously very important work and people come and go, but actually sometimes it is important to take a step back and say, well, actually, what have we done, what have we achieved? And as you say, to hear from clients direct, which is something that sit-ins advice struggles with, because we have such a transactional relationship with people. They come to us in a problem, we help them to fix it, and then they can continue to go on with their lives. We don't hold a weekly relationship with people where they come week in, week out, and then we can get them to do a poster for us or whatever. It's that type of relationship. So again, obviously asking some of those people to then come and meet with a member of the royal family and talk about their experience with us was just a brilliant opportunity.
Yeah, indeed. So indeed, and yeah, for her to meet the people like us who fund you.
Absolutely.
Yeah, it's good.
Yeah, and she was quite challenging. She was asking a lot of people, how long is that relationship going to continue? Does she need to do anything about that? Does she need to sort it out? She was certainly very, very firm in her approval of people funding us and supporting the work that we do. If you do have any questions, by the way, please do just post them below. We'll be finishing up in a couple of minutes. Sally from the Cowshed has just commented. The Cowshed have also been supporting families as well. We've made a lot of referrals over to them. They've been doing wellbeing bags and clothes and other things that the families need as well. So thank you to the Cowshed for all their work as well. So what's your background, Tony, before you came into politics and before you became the mayor in Wokingham Town?
I was working at my last job, which I retired from in June. I was at NATS air traffic down at Swanwick, not as an air trafficker. I was an engineer, a software engineer. So I was responsible for the safety and the well-being of a few systems, if you like. So that was that. Before that, I was, well, Claire and I met in Birmingham, where I was working up there as software. Before that, I lived in various places around the south, but I was born in Bracknell.
Oh,
so
okay.
Back in 1955, when there was a high street in Bracknell rather than a circular thing. Not that I remember it. We moved away when I was 4. We moved down to Christchurch, to Mudderford, down the south coast, where my dad was a boat builder. So he made catamarans, so Councillor Lack. Yeah, so he did those for many, many years. And it was when he became, the end of his career was also the beginning of mine. And that's when I moved away. A little bit of time on the railway, a little bit of time with computer operating and software and so on. Yeah. And we moved here to Wokingham in 1980. I'll get it wrong because my wife's not here to tell me. About 1983, 94. And we raised 4 children, sending them to the various schools around here, to Ranelagh and so on. I was a scout leader during that time, bit of church leading and stuff like that. So yeah, it's been good community. My wife Claire has been had been working at the local nursery school as well. So we were pretty normal Wokingham commuters, struggling with finance. Okay, maybe not the same way as some of your clients, but yeah, we had same sort of life as most people do. It's been a great time. Yeah,
and very active member of the community, and then I was going to say a very active member of the community, and then you're obviously now doing a role that really is able to champion that, and so again, I've met a couple of the mayors that we've had for both the town and the borough now over the last 2 years at different events in the marketplace, and we have stalls there every so often as well, because obviously it's a really central place to meet people. So it's great. Well, I say hopefully we can meet once this is over, but who knows what's next. But certainly we're trying to line up people to come and visit us and see us when we are able to have some form of event and meet in person, because I think that's going to be really important to bring people back together. I don't know how long we can continue just doing video calls with everybody and anyone. You sometimes need to see people in person, don't you, and be able to have a good chat with people as well.
Yeah.
It would be great to welcome you to come and see us. I did want to mention as well, I said, because it is important. So we are absolutely really grateful for Wokingham Town funding us for all of the years you have, and I'm certainly hoping you continue to do so as a town, because that goes towards our core service. So the core service of people being able to drop in or phone us about benefits, debt, etc. And then the likes of United Charities fund us for home visitor and other key roles then that fill some of those gaps. But some of that is support in kind. So again, engaging with the town council recently, who are also helping us liaise with other parish and towns as well about space. we don't intend to open our office immediately. We want to continue working from home because we're able to support so many people by carrying on this model at the moment. But we do have a number of clients. At the moment, it's a handful of clients who need to see us face to face. They have a lot of debt. They have a lot of paperwork that we need to be able to sit and look at. So we're really grateful again that the Town Council have allowed us to use one of your rooms to be able to see those. To be able to see those individuals and talk with them, and that's obviously really important. So again, obviously finances and that support is absolutely brilliant, but sometimes again in times like this, it's some of that other support in kind, isn't it, and enabling us to be able to support members of the community in the ways that they need it. So we're really grateful.
Yeah, well, thank you for continuing to offer that service, even though it's been struggling. Before we sign off, there are a couple of things. We do realise that you've had a huge amount of workload. I believe you've had the same amount of calls in the last couple of months as you'd expect in a year. And yet your wait time on the phones has been less than a second, before you answer them, which is pretty amazing. And you've managed to continue your core work. So it's absolutely fantastic. So dead proud.
Thank you. We appreciate it, and I know a number of our staff and volunteers will be watching because they've been watching in this stuff, and I will certainly pass on your message on that. We're certainly really grateful. But I think I said it in last week's call with some of our team that I just think, and it really is no, it's not a dig at anyone else or anything, but in a time that we went through, it would have been so easy to say, look, we've got to just pause, take a breath, take a step back and think about what we're going to do. But we didn't. We said, we know our role. We know we've got the skills to do that. We know the other charities are also stepping up. What's our role and what are we going to do about that? It then just so happens that we've dealt with as many people in 12 weeks as we have in the year. But that was certainly never, the intention from the start. It was to respond to whatever that demand was. And again, the 1 second queue time, it does make me laugh because it is fantastic, because you just literally call and you get through immediately to be able to speak to someone. But again, it's that value that at the moment, because everything is so uncertain, we want to be the certainty. We want people to know that that is something that we can rely upon. And also, as much as we absolutely, we've got obviously a reputation to uphold, we're representing all of you as well. We're representing the fact that the town and parishes are part of this, that the borough are part of this, and that there are other charities like Sally at the Cowshed and lots of the others that we mentioned before, Sally listening in, that are working really hard, and we are that funnel for them to be able to operate as well. So if we didn't perform, then obviously they would be struggling to do their work as well. But I think that's what's been, and again, I'm sure there'll be plans to bring a lot of those groups together and thank the volunteers and stuff over the next couple of months. But it just has been remarkable, that partnership work. And, it hasn't mattered what charity you're in, what group you're in. Everyone has just been prepared to get involved and support the efforts that are going on.
And that's sort of rude of me to say this, but to try and get the last word in. We really don't need to let this model of your front door, the local charities, the communities, all supporting all of our community. We don't need to let that model go. It's been absolutely brilliant. Thank you. You're only the front door. There's a huge amount of people behind you, below you, around you, around us. It's been wonderful, and let's hope we can continue and we don't all suddenly rush back into our cars and start moaning about the traffic.
Absolutely.
So continue being concerned about the community.
Yeah, absolutely. That's brilliant. Thank you very much. Well, thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's been a really good conversation. I hope you've enjoyed it as well.
Yes, okay.
And we'll leave this up afterwards. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Jake.
Thank you.
Bye.